Hey everybody, I am back with a brief spoiler review of season 1 of Shogun. Something I've been watching recently because man, this show is very good. The writing here is top notch, the actors are top notch, and there's no, you know, forced progressive kind of BS in the writing where it's like, you know, from what I'm understanding from like the Viking TV shows, like they kind of forced like a black woman into a role that's like in like Norse the culture and stuff like that. It make no freaking sense. In a role that's, you know, based on a person that wasn't black, but it's kind of crap like that. It's like kind of irksome, especially when dealing with historical uh accuracies in terms of depicting a particular culture. Like I'm not, you know, making a especially if there's no grounds for it. uh like here in Shogun is based off of, or at least loosely based off of a novel. It's also kind of based off of an historical situation loosely, uh uh about an Englishman uh uh coming into Japan during the 1600s. um I got the list of cast pulled up because I don't remember all the characters like that, but it's very well done. And it's probably because they have like you know, a lot of Japanese people behind this. And the way it was pitched is almost seems like, well, not almost, I can't remember who said it, but the way it was pitched, it was like like feudal Japan version of Game of Thrones. And I can see that as this was being played out. So before we get into it, please like and subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you guys think of the show Shogun. If you haven't seen it, please do yourself a favor and check it out. So we got a list of cast here. We got Cosmo Jarvis as John Blackthorne, loosely based off of the Englishman William Adams. Uh, Anna Sawai plays Toda Mariko. Tada, uh, Tadanobu Asano as Kashagi Yubayashi. I'm gonna butcher a lot of these names, so please forgive me. Yuki Kadoni as Takamaru. They got Hiroyuki Sanada, icon, as Yoshi Toranaga. Yushin Lee as Yabuyoshi, uh, Yobuyoshi's Green Kosho number 2. Takahiro Hira as Ishido Kazanara or Kazanari. Kangyo Gui as Yoshi Nagakado. Kirito Kanai as Kagashi Omi. Mukai Hoshi as Yushami Fuji. Suno Suki as Bontaro. Tommy Busto as Father Martin Alavito. Fumi Nikado as Ochibe no Kata. Nishoka Tokama as Tada Hiromatsu. Mako Fujimoto as Shizu no Kata. uh uh Mukari Yuki or UK as Kiku. Uh, so there's a lot of cast. Let's get down to like the bulk of them. But anyway, uh, the movie, the movie, the show begins with you know these English pirates uh getting caught in a storm. Uh, or at least they're Portuguese pirates. They get caught in a storm. They, the captain ends up, you know, taking a pistol and blowing his own head off because they thinking they're gonna be trapped there at sea, and they land adrift where they're in Japan, or how they pronounce it, the Japans. Have no clue what each other are talking about, but given the fact that it's the 1600s, there were some Protestants. So this whole thing between the Protestants and the Christians and that whole thing. But there was a couple of priests already in the midst of this, between like Osaka and this other place. I'm blanking on it, but they go back and forth between these two particular locales over the seas. So the budget on this probably isn't that much because the only two locations that they stay at. But as the others are getting, lumped into this kind of like a, cage and everything like that, it's Blackthorn who tries to negotiate their release so they can get back on their boat, back at sea and everything like that. But nobody understands them except for a couple of people who knows a little bit of English, because a couple of English speaking people already made their way to Japan, and most of the Japanese have converted to Catholicism, Christianity, whatever, same difference. So a lot of them have crosses, especially Mirko, and it gets right into it. Just like with a lot of Game of Thrones episodes, a lot of people end up dying. There is like a woman who turns Fuji, who ends up going to be turning into like a nun because her husband and baby son have to be put to death to reclaim her honor because of what the husband did or something. I blank on that, but she goes through an arc. But uh 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 Tornaga exploits the fact that Blackthorn could be like a monkey wrench in this whole situation where the previous shogun delegated the rule of Japan between kind of like a consul in a way. And it's like at least like 5 people, one of them being Tanaga. But he initially wanted Tanaga to be the one to rule, but he doesn't want to be the shogun. But realizing that there's like a plot to try to get him out, so there's gonna be like a threat of war possibly. So he's kind of like escaping to this other island away from Osaka, and we get a little bit of like prejudices between the Japanese looking at Blackthorn like a barbarian, while clearly there was like some on his end of things calling them kind of savages, given the fact that their cultural differences, like the seppuku thing, where in their obsession with honor and everything like that is completely foreign to him. the way they eat, how they carry themselves, even the fact that how they bathe, because the fact that they try to groom him and bathe him, he's like, no, like I wait a little while before like actually take a bath, and they think like, dude, you smelly, and we need to clean you up because they probably bathe a lot more frequently than he does as an Englishman. Because I'm pretty sure I looked up a long time ago how like people around that time, especially like Victorian era and stuff like that, like how would they bathe, and it's kind of like wild. They technically do, but it's kind of like wild how grooming and bathing had came a long way since then. But they clean them up, and they have Murako do a lot of the translating, and these two end up getting close, even though she has like a husband, but and she has like a tumultuous family history and everything like that. I'm not gonna get into too much of everything like that because it's a lot to take in, but she has like a tumultuous past with her father, and she wants to die with honor, but she got refused. So she's in this marriage where this guy is kind of like abusive in a way, but I guess over time he kind of turns it around, sort of, whatever. I don't know, but he's kind of like a dick. But she is, duty bound to obey him as the wife. Even though this, Blackthorn thinks it's kind of crazy how, like, sure, a man's wife, that's his like priority, and how he chooses to deal with the relationship is their business. But when it gets to the point of like physically abusiveness, yeah, that's when he kind of draws the freaking line, and it's like I like that little moment. You know when the moment comes when you see it if you watch the show, but there's all these little machinations going on, and like this one character was very very dope. It's kind of like, I call him like the little finger of the show, but he's kind of like you like him better. uh uh Kashigi. He's trying to play both sides kind of situation because he's trying to save his own neck, but he has a little bit of loyalty, especially when it comes to his own nephew, because he never had any children, and his brother died in battle or something like that, so he's pretty much taking up the fatherly role for his nephew, who's helping run things on their side of the neck of the woods. But Blackthorn's main concern is trying to get back to his men, get his ships, and to get out of here. But then once he sees like how amazing the land is, and he gets pretty close to Marco, there's this moment because they eventually give him like a place with Fuji as his like consort to fulfill, like it's kind of like essentially like a built-in wife in a way, kind of like run the household when he's not there, and like uh physically pleases him when when he needs to, even though he's not like, he's all right with that. There's one time, I don't know, it was episode 3 or 4 or 4 or 5. There's one in the middle, somewhere in the middle, where these two clearly get close, but thinking, at first you're thinking it's like well, you kind of know it's Murako. She pretends to be Fuji, covering his mouth and not, just under the guise, because at that time I'm thinking like, oh, her husband must have died in battle with honor, but he actually, made his escape, but it took him a while to heal up and make his way back home. But she ends up like under cover of night, you know, sleeping with Blackthorn, uh, and just like, you know, pretend like, oh, it wasn't me, it was like Fuji, but it's just like keep it to them, kind of thing. But the whole entire thing is just like the show is incredible. Uh, the, but then like you see like it gets hardcore when it needs to be, but not gratuitous like a red wedding kind of situation. Even though they could do something like that, you literally have like shinobi ninjas showing up one time to get Murako. I was like, oh, you actually get ninjas in this. Oh, okay, that's pretty dope. But you get one of Toranaga's right hands is what's that old dude's name again? Toda, who, because at a certain point Toranaga was trapped in kind of like a box in a way, and it's like people suggest like they do this move called the Crimson Sky, where it's kind of like a military move that he implements before to try to take down his enemies, because now he knows full well that he can't take on head-to-head fight between the other kind of like heads of this kind of console with their own little military backings. But he really doesn't want to use the Crimson Sky. But it's just like he has this kind of like back and forth with Toda, and he's telling Toda that they're gonna plan on like surrendering. You know, they say like we should fight back, and it was like a whole back and forth. And because they refuse to do what Toranaga want, they dishonor. So he ends up committing seppuku, and it's like kind of heartbreaking. You see, it's like heartbreaking all around, because these two was tight, and it's just like, but all in all, it seems like an entire. I'm not sure how much it was like part of his big scheme, but I don't know if this was part of the scheme or not. I like to think it's not, and it's just like they had like these friends, long-standing friends. Him kind of being like a mentor to Toranaga ends up like this. It's intense. And then you get this whole situation between Toranaga and his son, and his son's kind of like very impetuous, wants to essentially like prove himself in a way. He's a little bit more aggressive and not thinking moves ahead. And it was because of him, because Blackthorn was because he's supposed to be like a sailor, he's supposed to know everything about like sea warfare, and he was teaching them about cannons and everything like that. Because of his son, you know, killing one of a soldier from one of the other council members, not only dishonor, but it's like kicking off a freaking war instead of like, you know, now it's kind of like Toranaga had to do certain things, you know, ahead of schedule because his boy was too impatient. But that's when like Toranaga's brother, I think, I'm not sure it was like actual brother or stepbrother, I'm pretty sure it's actual brother, and he turns out to be like kind of like a backstabber. Turns out that one of the council members, the lead council members, like decides to make him take the place of his brother to fill the seat in order to get certain votes in and get certain things done, because they always at a stalemate because it's like, you know, too even. So he tells like Toranaga, like, we expect you to like surrender the next day. But then the son decides to try to do a coup d'etat and take him out. But because it was raining earlier, he slipped, fell on a rock, and bashed his head in. And I was like, shit, did not see that one coming. This poor boy didn't even get a chance to do anything. He's like, so like, not that he was like incompetent. He's obviously can fight, but the fact that he pratfalled to his death, kind of like, what? Did not see that one coming. But like I said, it's a spoiler review, mind you. But despite everything that they went through, this whole machination with Toranaga, Miracle, in a way, I think it was part of the sacrifice, because in the shinobi, trying to attack, and Blackthorn trying to save, her and a couple other people in this shed, the shinobi set off these kind of little like bombs to try to blow open the door. She tried to hold it back, and it get caught in a blast. She dies, which kind of kicks off a series of domino effects, where now realizing that Kashigi let those shinobi in the first place, ends up having to commit seppuku, but not before he had a heart-to-heart with Toranaga, and realizing that he already implemented the Crimson Sky, but it wasn't like a full-on warfare battlefield kind of situation. It was like a subtle thing by using Miracle, who people like see as like like I don't know, it's just like letting some hostages go, and viewing her like, okay, like like a unique kind of like a vizier, like some like a high standing person, and that everybody respected in a way, despite her certain sort of past. She conducted herself in a way where it's like, she's kind of like, second hand to Toranaga, and because of this, what happened on the grounds of the council and everything like that, the lead council guy kind of loses kind of like a weight of authority, because certain key players kind of backed out for a certain like for a power play after the death of his woman, kind of like loses kind of his bite. So now who knows what happened in season 2, but now it's just like everything is just like essentially stalled in a way. There's actually, what we know, battlefield, we kind of expect some kind of battle warfare between samurai, but like I said, I was going to cover very briefly. There's a lot going on in these 10 episodes, but all in all, very well done. Great writing. The cinematography is immaculate. This show should be winning tons of awards. I'm not sure when the next big award show is, probably by the end of the year or beginning of next year, but this should be winning all sorts of awards. How well this has done. Everybody is, raving about it. FX, if you're watching FX, I watched it on Hulu. Man, the hype was well deserved. But yeah. Once again, Sonata always stand out. Anna Sawai, Cosmo Jarvis, honestly, like, and then like also Asano. My favorite characters in an entire show. Huge standouts for me. But everybody brought their A again to this. This is an incredible show. Cannot rave about it enough. there was like a moment a few weeks ago where people was like wondering when they're gonna bring in like the black samurai, because there was supposed to be some kind of historical figure, kind of like Afro Samurai was based off of, where this black samurai who is this black man who got on a ship, snuck on a ship that was bound for Japan, and that's where he kind of lived there and became like a samurai, kind of escaping slavery and everything like that. And it's like, I think there was like an anime based off of that, but there's also Afro Samurai, like a Netflix anime based off of that. But also we had Afro Samurai, voiced by Samuel L. Jackson, loosely based off of that kind of story. And it's like, although those were cool interpretations of this story, but this is not where you want to introduce that story. I think you need to, focus on what the show is trying to depict from the book, or the slightly loose historical story of this tale in the 1600s. Don't try to throw in black samurai or anything like that. You gotta let it be his own thing. Stop trying to unnecessarily throw in stuff that doesn't need to be there. And this is me speaking as a black person. You already got like two different interpretations of that black samurai thing. Don't need to throw him in there just to throw a black person in there. That's not good storytelling to me. It's like telling like a story about with an all black cast of Africa in its history of the Zulu nation or something like that. But then you throw in like an was well before like the English people even came into play, like at least 100 years before the English came to Africa. We try to tell like a separate story altogether about just different tribes in Africa, and this like Game of Thrones but in Africa. But then you throw in like a Swedish woman in there for some reason. It's like, why? Don't just throw one in there. Don't throw a Mexican in like a story talking about Australian history or something like that. It makes no freaking sense to do it. It is my opinion on it. It's like, don't do a DEI crap here, okay? Just let us be his own thing. Just tell like a story about one particular culture with nothing else about. Sure, yeah, Blackthorn is like a white man, but it's part of the book and the historical, or at least loosely historical story in history. But it's precedent that there's like a white man in the story, because that's during a time period where that would make sense. You know what I mean? But it's just like, God, like, please slow down. Let us, like, certain people have like a thing, and not try to make it a multi-pot thing where it doesn't need to be. Anyway, like I said, great story. I can't wait for season 2, see how it turns out, because man, I love that character of Miracle, and it's a shame that she had to die in this. I'm pretty sure it's part of the book, but man, it's really good. It's really, really good. And I'm too interested to see where they take the character of Blackthorn in the future, because he does eventually try to go see his comrades from the ship again, but he's been gone so long, and they kind of like I guess he kind of like got used to the whole civilized nature of the Japanese culture, and he sees his like rambunctious old crew who kind of looks at, well, at least one of them looks at him differently, but now kind of doesn't want to go back to them again for some reason. They didn't really dive too much into it like that. It's like he doesn't look at it the same way anymore, in a way. But I'm also curious to see how that all turns out. But anyway, that's all I pretty much had to say about that. But let me know in the comments what you think of the show, what you expect from season 2. Hopefully there'll be a season 2. Why wouldn't there be? And I will see you guys tomorrow after I get home from C2E2, and let you know all the stuff that I got, as well as all the stuff I got from my birthday as well, because I got a couple of things. I might as well lump that in with what I got from C2E2, but also another surprise video, but I'm gonna leave that as a, like I said, a surprise. But look forward to that tomorrow, late afternoon. So I will see you guys later. Have a great weekend. Take care.